Hey folks, thanks for coming back for another lesson. I'm going to keep this one under 10 minutes today. We'll just quickly review the muscles in the torso that we've been going over in the last couple of videos that I posted. Uh, when I watch these videos back to make sure I'm explaining things right, uh, I, I can't escape not having names for proper areas that I'm trying to get you to focus on. So I figured we'd break up the muscle groups that I've already briefly gone over, get you to know them by name, see them in their functionality, kind of also how they thread into their location, and this will give you kind of a starting point for how to think about the muscles in the torso without thinking about the glutes, without thinking about the deltoids. That's your butt and your shoulders. Okie dokie. So let's jump into it here. I've done a diagram. So to make it simple enough for you to grasp right off the hop, okay? Keep in mind there's only 8 major groups that you're really ever going to illustrate. They do get more intricate if you really want to understand how they work, but in terms of getting into the field of animation, concept design, comic books, I don't think you really have to push it further than understanding or having a good understanding of each of these groups and how they work in unison. So I've drawn a 3/4 from the front and a 3/4 from the back view of a male torso here, and I've listed the 8 groups, starting with the chest muscles, which their anatomical term is the Pectoralis Major. These are all a bunch of old school Latin terms that still hold up today. We still refer to them as such. So you have 2 major groups there. You can see I've provided a gapped area. That would be where the collarbone would sit, and the area in between the 2 chest muscles would be the sternum, okay, bone, and then ribs connecting to it underneath. All right. So you've got this giant muscle. We call them pecs. All right. Pectoralis major. That's why we call them pecs. All right. And they are comprised of a series of small threads of muscle that, like I mentioned in the last video, actually start on your arm bone. Okay. So at the top of your humerus, which is the bone in the top of your arm. Okay. There's a socket area for the arm to fit into the shoulder socket. There's also a bunch of divots and grooves along the top as it gets big towards that socket point of the bone. All right. Through there are a bunch of muscles stemming off of it. All right. The chest muscle, the pectoralis major, is one of them. Okay. So it stretches from the sternum, from the collarbone, all the way across to the humerus bone in your arm. All right. And even from behind, if we remove the shoulder, we get a good read on the side of how that pectoralis major muscle wraps up and over and into the body. Okay. Now you're going to have to do a lot of investigating for yourself, but I feel like, by going through this with you, you're going to actually get a good understanding of how they're all laid out. You can see these muscles in any photo of a muscular person, male or female, to be quite frank. All right, so let's look at number 2 here, which would be the trapezius muscles. Okay, those are your traps, is our slang for it. And the traps, if we look from behind here, we can see they ride up. There's 2 groups of trapezius muscles. They ride up your spine and into the back of your cranium, where your cranium meets your final spinal column there. At the 7th vertebrae in your spine, the muscle in the trapezius starts to fan out and cover your like the top portion of your scapula, which is your shoulder bone. Okay, it also starts to cover the area that forms the socket for your humerus, all right? So look at all of those lines that I've drawn inside the muscle groups. They're all threading out to the direction where they fit, all right? These lines right here are actually threading to the top portion of the scapula, all right? And this gap that I provided in between the next muscle group is essentially where that scapula is resting in between those muscles, okay, beneath all of them, all right? So there you have it. There's your traps. You can see them from the back view. You can see them from the front view. They stem out in the front. You would basically see just a lick of them coming out the back, all right? And then they would be threading forward, connecting to your collarbone, okay? And completing the strength and muscle and fabric that creates that joint in your shoulder area, okay? Next is your sternocleidomastoid. All right, this isn't necessarily part of the torso, but it's a great connector piece. It gets you from your collarbone to the back of your ear. All right, and there are two groups of those sternocleidomastoids as well on either side of your neck. And you can see them here. I've kind of drawn them fanning out as they ride behind this man's head here, back to where on the far side of him his ear would be, and then on this side they ride up in behind the ear, okay? Your ear would overlap it. And if you look in the mirror and turn your head to the side and keep your eye on your ear, you'll notice that muscle is pretty prominent as it stretches all the way down to your collarbone. All right, so that's the sternocleidomastoid. Fun name to remember. Probably the hardest one of all the terms here, but definitely a great muscle to include in this grouping. Number 4 will be the, it's a set of two groups, but we're going to combine them into one, and we're just going to call them the scapula muscle grouping, all right? So it is what it says it is. It's a series of muscles that form over top of your scapula. They reach out into the joint area, okay, of your arm socket there. They also stretch out into the top of the scapula, all right, and connect with the they stretch up, thread up, and connect with your trapezius muscle, okay? And then underneath, there is another group of scapula muscles that stretch out onto the arm, and they thread in to the bottom portion and under into the back around the scapula. There's another group of muscles in here too, this little group right in here. It would be between, okay, this one right in here. I did it in dark brown. Okay, so think of all three of those as one, all right? They're basically just, there's one at the top of the scapula, all right? There's one in the middle that you're not really going to want to, I mean, you can bring attention to that, and you'll impress people if you can show that muscle and how it folds. It's underneath this top flap, all right? And then underneath this middle flap, the other one rides out, connected to the scapula, going into your armpit. Stretching into your actual arm bone. This one I know is threaded close to like your tricep muscle in your humerus, okay? So like the pectoralis major that stretches from your mid-chest to your humerus, the lower part of your scapula muscle grouping does the same, all right? Hence where you get the strength, you know, from your arms and your shoulders, and then your arms and your chest as well. Hence why a push-up, and as an example of an exercise, would you know, promote growth and strength in these muscles, okay? Group number 5. These are some big ones and easy to remember, okay? Very prominent on all the muscular figurature, on all of the muscular figures that we've seen in pop culture art, okay? And that is these big blue guys that I've drawn in the center of the back. As you can see, they kind of mimic the shape of the rib cage. That's because they actually stem out from the spine and wrap around the rib cage. They wrap all the way down into where those L's form into the small of your back. All right, and you can think of this open area. There are other muscles, okay, that connect to your hip case and whatnot, and to your legs as well back there. But for now, I just want to keep it on these 8 groups, right? So we focus on these lats here. And they wrap all the way around the ribs from the center of the spine all the way to the front of the body, coming into your ribs underneath your pectoralis major, okay? Your chest muscle. All right. They also, your Latisimis, Dorsi is what they're called, your lats. They feed into your obliques as well. All right. Now, this next part gets a little tricky, kind of like the scapula muscles. It's like I did take the time to separate them because they do have separate names. So in green here, kind of zigzagging into the oblique area, is number 6, the Seratus Anterior, okay? And these muscles form off of your rib cage underneath your Latisimis dorsi, the lats, okay? And they thread down along your rib cage, okay? And then what comes next, and like you can see them here very prominent on the far side from a 3/4 view. So you would see them straight on as well. You can see them even from a 3/4 view protruding a little bit, and you can give clarity to that when you're drawing. Okay? They actually protrude a little bit as they feed into the next muscle group, number 7, which is the obliques, or as they're known, the external obliques. Okay? So the way to think about these is, in each of these zigzags that the last muscle group, the Seratus Anterior, okay, forms, in each of those, you're going to form a thread of muscle that connects to one of your abdomens, all right? And there's basically one for every abdomen that you have to make it easy on yourself, all right? So there's one for your top abdomen, one for your second abdomen, another for your third abdomen, and another for your fourth abdomen, okay? And then I guess your love handles are actually included in your obliques as well, your external obliques, okay? And that would be your 5th and final oblique muscle, all right? So, like I was saying, from the zigzag pattern that forms from the Seratus Anterior, you form each strand of the external obliques, okay? And they kind of zigzag into place as well. You notice on the other side they do the same thing. They feed down into the abs in accordance, all right? Now they don't have to line up exactly. There's different ways of showing it, and sometimes, you know, it's more pronounced that you show ribs than oblique muscles. So maybe on a drawing you would just hint that there are ribs protruding right here at that furthest point of the rib cage, and then you could show a beauty line indicating that the obliques are kind of S-curving into the abdomen, all right? That's one way to think about it later on down the road. Anyhow, we're at 14 minutes. I said this would be 10. The last and final group, okay, you're not obviously going to see this from a back shot at all, even a back 3/4 shot, and that would be your abdomen. This is where I went wrong in my last videos. Forgive me for messing this up. You have 8 sets of abdomen in there. This is how they ride. Your top abdomen rides along your rib cage into your sternum, okay? The next set is about twice the size of that, okay? Last video I said that's where the belly button started. Wrong. That's not how that works. It's the next set of abdomen, okay? That forms your 6-pack, all right? Or excuse me, that forms your 4-pack. See, I screwed it up again. That forms your 4-pack. Under that is your belly button. and then your final two abdomens ride all the way down into the crotch area, okay? Your eighth pack, if you were very muscular and you had a very defined core, you would find that eighth pack jutting out underneath your pectoralis major muscles right here along your ribs, okay? So forgive me for my incorrect teaching there the last time, okay? You're going to want to scrap that thing and take this note instead, and from now on I'll never mess that up again, okay? I was a little more confident than I gave myself credence or credit for. Okay, so there's the 8 muscle groups. You see how they all work in accordance with each other. You can see these anywhere, Google search, anatomy books. This is the basics, but if you can break these muscles down into some simple shapes and learn to think about how they form over the you know the musculature of the human anatomy, how they all interlace together. You know, I think by studying from an anatomy book, looking at photos of actual people who are you know, physically fit and they have great detail in their physique. So a combination of the anatomy books, those, and then you practicing to try to keep your loose drawings as anatomical as possible. You know, don't worry about style or anything if you're just getting your bearings, okay? Don't try to draw like Jim Lee. Don't try to draw like your favorite comic book artist or your favorite animator, okay? Focus on really understanding how all this stuff works, and I promise you it'll save you so much trouble and crap in the long run, all right? There you go. I hope that made sense. If you want, I can save this and send it to you, or drop it in the Discord, and you can download it for yourself, okay? My Discord is Christian Wolf Art 6227. That's Christian Wolf Art 6227, all right? You can also check me at Christian Wolf Art across the board at Instagram, Reddit, YouTube, and Twitch, where I stream live sometimes. On Twitch, there is a schedule for when I stream live. Excuse me. And by all means, please make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel here, where I'm doing lessons, showcase videos of books I like, and time lapses of some of my process. Have a good day. Hope you learned something.